You are now listening to the Minority Trailblazer Podcast. Let the story begin.
One time for the lovers, 2 times for the ladies, 3 times for the brothers, 4 times for the babies. Do you love her? 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 1 time for the lovers, 2 times for the ladies, 3 times for the brothers, 4 times for the babies. Do you love her? 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 Brown skin, love her. Brown skin, love her. Brown. Brown skin, love her. Brown skin, love her. Brown. She my brown.
Culture change agent. On this show, we interview young, successful minorities in a variety of fields to educate, empower, and inspire our current and future generation of leaders. And I'm excited today to have somebody on the show, fresh off a city council appointment, man, fresh off an album that I can't wait to dig into, and I can't wait to just expound upon during this interview, man. And it's been a couple years in the making to really get you on here focused, man, on the platform, man. So without further ado, Minority Trailblazer Nation, I would like to welcome Mr. Pierce Freelon to the Minority Trailblazer Podcast. Man, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no doubt, man. So I'm gonna let you do your own intro and your own background and bio, and then we're gonna jump right into it, man.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm not a big fan of bios, so I'll just say that, I'm a black man from Durham, North Carolina. I'm a father and a husband. I'm into anime, video games, comic books, and all things black sci-fi. So yeah. I was really grieving, when, Chadwick Boseman passed away, Black Panther. And grieving for black folks across the country who've been experiencing violence and, and the consequences of poverty. Whether it's from COVID-19, disproportionately impacting black communities to, violence in the community, especially during the summers, police surveillance, it's just hard out here for a lot of people. In fact, that's one of the reasons why I'm really into science fiction, because I think, Afrofuturism gives us an opportunity to dream and envision what a different world could be like. So for me as a musician, I think about, different possibilities through my music, and I try to speak things into existence. In politics, when I'm thinking about policy, I keep an Afrofuturist lens because I know that the systems that we have in place currently aren't sufficient. As a parent, as a husband, just my whole vibration is oriented towards possibility. So that's my bio. How'd I do?
No, that was great, man. And I always ask the people that come on the show to share a quote or a mantra that they live by, and then share a story over the last month of how they applied that quote or mantra to their everyday life. So take us away.
The quote that comes to mind for me at present is lift as you climb. That was something my grandmother used to always say, lift as you climb. And for me as a lyricist, that's a metaphor that I visualize in my mind literally. So just, for everybody watching in the Minority Trailblazer Nation, just imagine yourself on a ladder or trying to scale a mountain. It's enough effort just to try to pull yourself up. Yeah. So, imagine, the strength it would take to take your free hand or your offhand, and then you lifting somebody up, while you're climbing. It's like, yo, how am I supposed to do that? That's a tall order, but that's exactly what our ancestors did. Yeah. They look out for the people that are behind or beside them. And that's the only way we as a people are going to be able to move forward, in this country where we have so much kind of stacked against us. So, let me think. In the past month, how have I applied lift as you climb? Ooh, here's a good example. So my two brothers actually, Derek Rhodes and Nolan Smith. Derek, they're both Duke graduates. Oh, yeah. Derek was born and raised here in Durham. Nolan came to Durham, by way of Maryland to play ball at Duke, won a national champion here with Coach K a couple years back, NBA player as well, and now he's the head of Duke basketball's operations. So what is today? Today's a Monday? Monday. So 3 days ago on Friday, we did a Black Men's Summit. It was like a Zoom call. There were maybe, I don't know, like 80 brothers, young brothers on there. And we just built with them. We chopped it up. We talked politics. We talked, sports and entertainment. We talked family and politics. And, I was tired because the previous day I had just done this city council interview. And, hadn't been spending as much time with my family as I wanted and just felt kind of out of it. But I know that it's important for young brothers to see me and to see someone who looks like them, showing up for them. And so, I made the time as I will always make the time to be there and to chop it up with them for a couple hours. And I think that, that's just a small example. You asked for an example in the previous month. I could have given you some real dope examples maybe, over the past year or so.
No, hey, go ahead, take us there, and then we're gonna get to where we're gonna go.
Well, I think it's I don't want to pat myself on the back too much about it. It's not it's just a part of who I am and who I was raised to be. And I think that all of our great leaders were people who understood and embodied lift as you climb. People that I admire and look up to, whether it's, Muhammad Ali or Harriet Tubman. She wasn't just trying to get free herself. She was lifting as she climbed. She said, let me run that back and get y'all free with me. And, time and time again, just looking back at history, folks that we remember after they're gone are the folks who embodied that, as a part of their legacy. And so, in an effort to be aligned with my principles and to build the legacy that I want, and to build the community that I want and that we all deserve, I'm doing my best to lift as I climb.
So let's talk real briefly. What are your principles? Because I think that's a big question that, I see, unfortunately, in the system and educational system in general. That's not a question we ask a lot of our young men or young women. What are your principles?
Yeah, that's a good question. I should probably write them down. Every year I go through a process of setting intentions. And, those intentions come with me in my backpack. I put them on my wall in my office and they help guide my steps. And so those intentions, are kind of, they're underscored. The foundation of those intentions are always, a few core principles. One of them is do what you say you're going to do. Sounds very simple, doesn't it? And for anybody out there, no matter what you do, that's a real basic thing.
And it's hard. It's
hard to do. And you can't always do what you say you're going to do. Sometimes situations change, whatever, and you got to communicate that and, and apologize, make amends. But that's a big one for me is being a man of my word. My word is my bond. I do what I say I'm going to do. If I ever find someone who shares that principle, I grab them. I say, come on, you and me, And to me, that speaks to two principles. One is integrity. Your word being your bond is about your integrity. And then also accountability. Because if you are in a situation where you make a promise that you have to break for some reason, there's a way to do that with integrity, and accountability to say like, I'm not in the same place I thought I was going to be. So therefore, here's the new reality. I apologize for the inconvenience that this has caused you. What can we do to make things right? Nobody who has an expectation of you will hear something like that and be like, it's better because oftentimes people just drop the ball and
no call, no show.
They don't do nothing about it. So, those little things are really important to me. And I learned that from my dad. He was very much a stickler of being accountable, being a man of your word, being honorable and stand up person. So those things are important to me. I think another one of my principles is Black liberation. And again, the same two folks I just mentioned before, Muhammad Ali and Harriet Tubman, definitely folks, alongside, you name them, Bob Marley and, countless others have been kind of dedicated to improving, enhancing, striving towards freedom and full, unapologetic emancipation for all Black people, Black queer people, Black trans people, Black men, Black women, Black children, elders. Those freedoms in our lifetime are important to me. And so whenever I'm attempting to guide my steps and trying to root myself, and ground myself in some principles, or if I have a choice in front of me where I'm kind of like, should I do this or not? Like, I'm constantly thinking about Black liberation as one of the, stones in the scale, as I'm trying to make the right decisions. So yeah, those are two. I could probably come up with some more.
Start. That's a great start. And before we jump right in, I always ask just to kind of find the post of the week, because I my first 30 interviews, I've ran into some situations where I would jump off on boom, boom, and then you find out later in the interview, like somebody's father passed the last week, and like, dang, like they're not being conscientious of things that's going on. So what is one word that you would use to describe last week, and why?
Well, the word I would use to describe last week is buck. And the reason is because I've been thinking a lot about this. So, last week, Jacob Blake was shot in the back. He's now paralyzed. There was then a subsequent protest where a 17-year-old vigilante murdered 2 Black protesters. And, the basketball team, the Milwaukee Bucks, who are also from Wisconsin, where the murders took place in Kenosha, decided to boycott, this playoff game. And that team was called the Bucks. Buck, a buck is a deer. That's what a buck is. It's a deer that people hunt for sport. And there are many layers and meanings and metaphors behind the word buck, including, but not limited to deer, dollar bill. It's an onomatopoeia for a gunshot, buck, buck. It's kind of like wilding out. They're going buck, buck wild. Yeah. And then perhaps the most significant, I think of 2 more actually, but perhaps the most significant is a buck is what they used to call a male slave. A Black buck, was a very physically strong Black man. And when they did a slave auction and were selling women, men, and children, they said, we got a strong Black buck, right here. And, interestingly enough, to buck also means to push away. Yeah. To buck the system is to kick. Yeah. Is to repel. Is to dodge. You buck them out your way. So anyway, the
Nuck if you buck.
Nuck if you buck.
like literally.
Nuck if you buck.
Yeah.
Still to this day, the hardest song when it comes on in the club. But the reason that I used that word to describe last week is because all of that was happening. All of that was happening. The Bucks were boycotting a Black man getting bucked. They were sacrificing bucks, their dollars, by making that bold stance and saying, we'll take a hit during the playoffs in our pockets in order to stand up for what's right. And then when you look at the NBA, with very few exceptions, it's all white owners. It's mostly white coaches and executives and GMs and CEOs. And, it's built like a plantation because it's white at the top and all the, 80% of the players are Black.
Yeah.
So, you know, in a plantation system where you can buy and trade individuals,
it's surreal when you really think about it.
It's like they're looking at Zion Williams like, that's a nice black buck. They're licking their chops because they know they can make a lot of money out of that black body of his, you know, so that buck is there. And so when these black men say, nah, we're not playing, they're bucking the system, you know, they're sacrificing their money. Like, it's wild. So that's the word, you know, and they're doing it to protest black people getting filled with buckshot, you know, and bullet holes. Like, so all of that was with me last week, and that's the word I would use to describe it.
So we're going to go into the interview, and I think we want to talk specifically, and we're going to layer this whole interview around the Dad album, right? And I thought about while you were talking in the three quadrants: the cultivation, creation, and continuation, right? So the cultivation is the ethos of the album and what's baked into it and the real meaning of what you're trying to get. The creation is the raw creation piece, creating with your daughter, creating with your family, and interwoven all that. And the continuation piece is the importance of activating the ethos behind it. Because there's a lot of times we can have these great conversations and this is good information, but the thing is, how are we going to act on it? How are we going to be the men of our word? How are we going to be people of our word? How are we going to be a culture of our word, right? Like now there's a lot of stuff happening and there's a lot of rhetoric online about support. But are we going to honor that? And how can we continue to honor that? So let's take a step back. Dad, to our audience, man, what is the Dad album? And then start the conversation hopefully with the relationship with your dad and how it kind of started to lay the foundation and then kind of take us through. I'll let you orient it because you're a storyteller at a master level.
And celebrating his legacy as a dad. So,
and for the audience, I know you're about to go, but just make sure, kind of share who your father is and kind of the impact that he's done in society and you.
Sure. My father's name is Phil Freelon. He passed away last summer in 2019 after a battle with ALS. And he was an architect. He designed buildings, and some of the buildings he designed include African American museums that celebrate Black history. I think he's done more Black museums in this country than any other architect. So he's done the Museum of the African Diaspora in San Francisco, the Reginald F. Lewis Museum of Black Culture and History in Baltimore. He's done the Civil Rights Museum in Atlanta, in Charlotte and Greensboro. He's got Black history museums, and of course the crowning achievement of his career in doing museums is the Smithsonian National Museum of African American History and Culture,
which is crazy. Wow.
Yeah, have you been?
Yeah, to DC. Yeah, I've been a couple times. It's I don't have enough words to even describe what it.
Yeah, for those listening to the podcast, I highly recommend you check out the Smithsonian in DC. It is a truly awe-inspiring experience to, start at the bottom and work your way up. It's like 7-8 levels and takes you through the journey of the Black experience in a way that is truly, unique and in-depth.
And intentional.
Yeah. So that was my dad. He was a wonderful man, and I've been thinking about him a lot today with the news of my city council appointment.
Yeah.
Came this morning, and I just feel his presence so strongly. So the album is a celebration of everything he taught me about how to be a joyful, purposeful, intentional, loving, goofy, creative, Black Southern dad, he was such a happy parent. He loved to take us to the Eno and to play basketball, and he played video games with us, and he was just a great a great, loving, nurturing man. And all of that is on display in the album, and the little voice memos with my kids and having kids involved in songs. Some of them are fun, some are a little more serious. It's just a nice smorgasbord of what fatherhood has been like for me. And I think that's important, especially where, in the media, we don't have as many representations of Black men in a positive light at all. We have very few of Black fathers. And, this year when Kobe Bryant and his daughter Gigi passed away, I was just really humbled by all of the tender images of the two of them hooping together, or, Kobe with his arm around Gigi at a game, like giving her game, it was like Kobe Bryant detail, they talk about on ESPN. It was like detail with Kobe Bryant, just a one-on-one session with him and Gigi, playing one-on-one, supporting her at her games. We see that. We see Black dads doing that, but it's usually with their sons. Yeah. It's usually like LeBron sideline with his boy, stomping around, doing his thing.
In the layup lines,
layup lines, dunking. And, I think that, Snoop with his son playing football, or any dad at a baseball game, chewing gum, yelling at the umpire. Yeah. You see that, but you don't see Black men in nurturing, vulnerable, creative, athletic, pretty much any space with their daughters in the media. And, I had written, there's a song on my album called Daddy Daughter Day. I wrote that song probably 8 or 9 months before Kobe and Gigi passed. But it was a reminder to me that this is an important, needed story. This very special, very sacred relationship between father and daughter. And, I put the album out this summer, and it's really resonated with folks.
So even with that, like, how is, and I always ask this people, because I don't have any children, but do you think that your thoughts about parenting and what it would be like changed once you had a child?
Well, I was lucky to come up in a family where, both my parents were present, active, creative, engaged, loving, so that's what I knew. And
real quick, can you speak to what that looks like? Cause I think I hear in a lot of interviews when people but what does that look, what's the visual for that in your family? When you see these adjectives, creative, loving, what did that look like for you?
Well, let's go down the list. Creative, it means that, my mom had us, she was leading us in family plays where different family members took on different roles, and I'm the special effects guy, so I'm there doing lightning on the light switch, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, making the lights flicker. Imaginary friends, nature walks, just romping around, getting our feet muddy in the dirt. And my dad would take us out into the woods and just ask us to stop and listen. What do you hear? He would ask us. You sit there in silence for a minute. It's like birds. My sister's like, oh, stream. My brother's like mosquitoes, just observe. He taught us to observe our environments and just gave us kind of creative, opportunities to, feel connected to the world around us. I would call that creative parenting. Yeah. Probably the intersection of creativity and love. And then the other principles that I talked about, lift as you climb, accountability, there was no worse feeling for me than disappointing my dad. If I said I was going to do something and didn't, he would give me that look with the eyebrows get furrowed. And I would just feel so much disappointment in myself for letting him down. Mm-hmm. And, that taught me to cherish, being truthful and to really, desire to live into that instead of just kind of performing it while I'm sneaking candy or doing something wrong. Like, I think kids come into this world with all types of proclivities, and it's a parent's job to help sculpt and mold them into their best selves. And they don't do it alone. If they're lucky, they have, maybe people at your church or your mosque or your synagogue or your shrine. Maybe you have teachers that are nurturing and loving, extended family, neighbors, dance instructors, coaches, and together these folks, this village of folks, helps, boys to men.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Helps make some men out of these boys, helps make some women out of these girls. And for folks who are gender nonconforming, some dope adults out of these little kids, you know? So I think that's the job of any good community member or not community member, but community, beloved community, is to reinforce the values that help us raise these kids into some cool adults. And, I was lucky to grow up in Durham where there was no shortage of people who were ready to help lift me as they were scaling. So, I'm trying to do that for others.
What do you think is the reason why growing up you had to name it? Because you see it where some children have the benefit of people have a community of people that want to help them, but as you see in people, probably some people in your programs that gravitate towards black space, and we'll get into that, they may not necessarily have people that intentionally want to see them do well. The better question, I guess, because it'll lead to probably where I was going with that is, why, and I don't ask this enough. I don't think the question gets asked enough at all. Why do you care so much about helping people? I always, even before we ever met, you always really with the kids. Like you really build with them and grow with them. Like you're when y'all have your rap thing, I'll be like, I knew you had a full family. You're there at night vibing, rapping, or when they have events, you're really there. You're not just somebody, a benefactor. You throwing money, like you're really there. And I'm like, man, like this dude really cares about somebody outside of himself and lives by, but why?
That's a really interesting question. I don't know. My question would be, why aren't more people like that? To me, it is an extension of my being. That's just who I am. It's kind of like asking, I don't know, like, asking, someone who loves basketball why they hoop, or someone who loves, as a church family, why you go to church every Sunday? Why you put money in the collection plate? It's because I love it here. I love hip hop, and the Cypher is a dope place to be on a Friday night. Period. Like, what are the options? I've been a young man. I used to go to the club when I was in college, blaring Lil Jon and the East Side Boys in my ear from the window to the wall. Like that used to be a vibe on a Friday night. Have a couple of drinks. What else did I do? Going out to the movies. What else do people do on Friday nights? I don't know. So think about that. You go to the club, go to the movies, the Cypher hits a lot of things that those other things don't hit. First of all, you get to be around a vibrant, creative energy and space. You get to hear some bars. For me as a lyricist, bars are important, and these kids can rap. You get some of the same entertainment that you might get from watching a Marvel movie or whatever, but you get it not interacting with celebrities that you don't know, but actually conjuring that magic and that improvised energy and entertainment from the people around you and from yourself. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm not really a drinker, so though if the cipher were grown and included drinks and we did an adult version, I wouldn't be mad at it, but I'm not like missing that aspect of it. Mm-hmm. You know, it's dope. It's fun. Mm-hmm. It's up there with playing spades with the homies.
Yeah.
And going fishing with my dad, or going go-kart, playing Mario Kart or go-kart with my son. Mm-hmm. It's just a good time. And so yeah. So I'm not a benefactor who's there who puts some money down. I'm there because I can't wait to hear what they're going to do next.
Yeah.
And that's an exciting place for me to be. Mm-hmm. And what's crazy about that is that, you know, it's about creating space. Durham has a cipher now. If I was not involved in Black Space, I would be at that cipher every week. Mm-hmm. But because Durham didn't have a cipher prior to Black Space creating one, shouts to Jay Rowdy, who founded this cipher for Black Space. We're creating the thing that we want the culture to have. And that's that goes straight back to Harriet.
Yeah.
Harriet was like, yeah, this whack. We're going to do something else. Mm-hmm. Underground Railroad. Let's get it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, she was not content to just do what everybody else was doing. Mm-hmm. She was not content to occupy and then here's the thing too. There were liberation spaces in the context of enslavement. Mm-hmm. They would steal away into to the woods and do their praise and worship and commune with their ancestors and, you know, cook their food and, you know, celebrate and love up on each other. They had that. You know, but creating those spaces is necessary. Yeah. And if you see a space that should be and isn't created, that's what Cicely Mitchell did in Durham when she created Art of Cool. Yeah. She said, you know what? Bembe's cool. The Durham Blues Festival is cool, but I don't see anything for like jazz, Gen Xers. Let's get Robert Glasper to come through. Let's get Bilal. I'm going to call up Questlove and get, you know, she made that happen. Mm-hmm. And obviously it resonated. Same for Black August in the Park. Mm-hmm. They said, you know what would be dope? ... And whatever would be dope, they made it happen. Yeah. And I think last year, 10,000 people showed up. Yeah, it was ridiculous. You know? And so you kind of ask, that's why the question was kind of confusing to me. It's like, what makes you want to do Black August in the Park or Art of Cool Festival or Black Space, Cypher? I just wanted to create something that I would want to do. And there's a way to do that in a way that lifts the whole community up. Cause when you create Art of Cool, you know, somewhat selfishly for yourself, cause you want the scene to feel more robust and representative of the music that you like, then all the other people out there who are like, yo, I like Thundercat. Yeah. Yo, I like the internet. Like you're creating something that like-minded people can join you in. So even though you and grow the most beautiful things. And for those, you know, Minority Trailblazer, this is a, you know, international podcast, over millions, you know, downloads and whatnot. So some of the listeners might not understand what I'm referencing, but Google Art of Cool Festival and look at their lineups. You know, especially from the very first one to the present. They brought Nas, Erykah Badu, Jadana before. Terrence Martin, like the jazz cats. If you're a jazz fan and you look at the lineups of who Cicely, you know, who founded it, and now Brother Suleiman and his wife have taken it over. It's just mind-boggling what they were able to create in a small town like Durham. This ain't Atlanta. And they made it like this ain't Austin. This ain't Chicago, New York. This is Durham. Like they did that. Art of Cool Festival. Look it up. Look up Black August in the Park.
Yeah.
It started off just with a DJ in a park. Literally. And last year, 10,000 people coming from all over the country just to turn up in a park.
With black folk. Nothing deep.
Nothing deep. Or is it? Because they got quotes from Asada Shakur on the wall.
Oh, every year it's scaled up.
They got, bruh. So, that's Durham. Black Space is Durham. Like, it's beautiful what type of magic folks can conjure and plant and manifest here. And I'm one of those planters. I'm an urban gardener. Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm planting all kind of seeds. And this is a really special place. And we come from special roots. Like, it's not even like everything, those three institutions I mentioned, Art of Cool, Black Space, and Black August in the Park, you know, created by three different Black individuals, you know, in Durham. That's all this century, you know, from 2000 onwards. But if you look back before the year 2000, there's just so many innovative, creative, unprecedented Black
we're in a mutual building
stuff. Bruh, first Black-owned insurance company in the world.
Yeah.
We're on the ground floor of it right now. So when you talk about fertile ground, for the Black imagination to thrive, I can't think of a place that punches over its weight like Durham does. Cause you would expect that from a Chicago, you know, or from a New Orleans, you know, but yeah, Durham is just a beautiful place, and I'm so proud to be from here. So proud.
And let's talk through the creation of the album. Like, so it's been, as we talked a little bit beforehand, I mean, really started 2008. So it's a project, I mean, technically 2008, but this has been a project for the last decade plus, been manifesting in different journeys and peaks. Like, what were some of the core takeaways you've gotten throughout this experience creating, as an artist yourself, but also creating with your daughter on this, and her not just having like I'm not going to mention names, but like people that have their sons or daughters on the album, they get a little, woo. And then they get executive production, but she's really in it. Like, as you said, there's articles where they're like, Yola, like, who was the other guy on the album? Who was the dude? Like, so yeah, how was that experience, man? Like, really seeing it getting actualized.
It was dope. You know, a lot of the album, the concept of the album actually is built around voice memos. Okay. So literally, like, it'll be a birthday party or Halloween or a recital or just chilling at the house on a Monday evening. And I will pull out my phone, as many millennial parents do, and you either snap a little video of the kids or I'll take out my voice memo and be like, man, these kids are tripping, and record whatever they tripping on. You know, and those things over time, they pile up because these phones have become these digital archives for our lives. You know, we capture our whole lives, especially for parents. As soon as you become a parent, you know, your phone, you're going to pull out that phone.
He got 2, he got a 3 and a 5.
You got kids?
Yeah.
Man, like this thing, first steps, like, bro, my kid ate raisins today, bro. Like, you get excited about the dumbest shit. So from 2008 to last year, I've accumulated gigabytes of photos, audio clips, etc. And then I mentioned my dad passed last year. A couple months before he passed, I'm one of his primary caregivers. So I'm over at his house, you know, taking care of him, watching over him, and also scrolling through my phone. Remember this? Oh, remember we went to this? Oh, it was so fun at the opening of the museum when we did this. And I'm discovering like, yo, there are so many precious moments in here that I have not looked at in years. You know, it's just sitting there on your phone. You don't really go back all the time.
Yeah, you really don't.
Check what's on there. You do it, and then maybe you'll post it, maybe you don't, and then you move on with your life. So this was an opportunity for me. I had, you know, be with my dad 5-6 hours some days, and we get bored of watching whatever, The Matrix again, Star Trek. So I start scrolling through my phone, and I'm sitting here listening like, ooh, that make a dope beat. Like I could sample that right there. I'm a creative, so I'm like, there's this one song on the album called "Gather Your Clothes." It came from a voice memo where I walked into my kid's room. And I was like, gather your clothes and put them with Depo to go. And I was like, yo, that sounds kind of hard. Like, put them with Depo to go. It sounds like do. Gather your clothes, put them with Depo to go. Gather your clothes, put them with Depo to go. Hey. And so like, I'm sitting here on my phone in 2014. Beatboxing this gather your clothes thing into my phone. Years later, I show it to my dad. He gets a good laugh out of it. And then I'm like, but that make a hot beat though. So then I got up, in the studio and we made a beat out of it. And the beat goes so hard. The beat goes so hard. And every parent who's heard it is like, yes. The song starts, girl, if you better gather your clothes and put them with Depo to go. I'll tell you where they don't belong. They don't belong in the flow.
Okay, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, in the staccato, the rhythm of it is just like a trap song. But instead of rapping about, murdering other black men or how many racks you got or how many people you had sex with, it's like the topic is about something that every parent, even those trap rapping parents, maybe they got a maid, I don't know, but they can relate to. And that's like, children's music is a genre that I can't relate to. As a genre, when you hear a kid's song, I think like either Disney princess. Let it go, let it go. It's like a corny pop song. Or it's like Baby Shark. Make me want to
go
You know what I mean? Murder myself or someone. After listening to it over and over again. Or it'll be like Barney. I love you. You love me. It's just so corny. Never with real bars. And so that's the album. I was like, man, and listen, I've got friends that don't have kids who've texted me video of them bopping out to gather your clothes because it goes.
I'm about to, right when we leave, man. Like, I'm about to have the thing in the.
I'll get you a copy too. But that's the thing, man. Like, it's similar to the trend we've been talking about. I know that there's rappers out there capable of doing a good job in the kids genre. And then there's glimpses. Occasionally, you'll have like a Pharrell on a Despicable Me soundtrack, and then you get happy, and it's like, woo!
Like that's really like, I'm done.
Right, and it feels good, it's positive, and like, and it's better than any other kid's song
ever. Happy, like, you can't listen to that song and not be like, yo.
Come on, man.
I gotta get that in my Spotify right now while you talk. I forgot.
It just feels so good. And oftentimes those musical aesthetics are applied to pop music. And the topic is either love or something that's not kid friendly or appropriate. So, man, I just saw a lane for myself. I said, okay, I got kids and I don't enjoy or relate to a lot of the children's music that I hear as a consumer, as a parent. They may get some good messages out of it, but I'm sitting there like, yo, this is trash. Like the beat is trash. The lyrics are so, so pandering to their intelligence. But kids are smart. Kids are not, you don't need to tell a kid, go to pick up your clothes and go. You could tell them like a grown person, get them dirty drawers out from under that hamper. You know what I mean? And they'll do it. Like, you go to get your, like that's just, it's insulting to their intelligence. So I think like, kids have taste too. And I want my kids to grow up with music that's complicated, that's beautiful, that is reflective of their culture, and so that's what DAD is or strives to be.
Question: Will you make a with your wife? Will there be a son album? Will there be a daughter album? Like,
so will you
go through the uncle album?
I have thought about my son because much of this album specifically focuses on the relationship between father and daughter. And you know, when I think about my daughter, she's just like me. She's a creative. She's a singer. She loves to perform. She's very charismatic. My son is like my wife, who is an introvert and loves being at home, preferably with a headset playing Fortnite with his buddies. But, you know, he took after my dad. He did the doodles on my album. He's into drawing and sketching and he hates performance, you know, so, and the same thing. My dad, you know, as public as he was a very private man. Whereas my mom, jazz vocalist, performer, and like a diva.
Yeah, if you could real briefly, man, talk about your mom, man. Like, cause I it's crazy. One day I was just doing research. I don't know why I was doing research on you, and it was years ago.
That's called stalking.
Nah, I just...
Bro, you were stalking me. Just tell your fans that's what you were doing.
Hey,
Listen, this brother said, I was doing research. I don't really remember why, but...
No, I think I do. No. Because it was a voting thing, and it was like... Because you came out of nowhere with no political background, and I was like... From what people thought, no political background, I'll say it like that. And I was like, bro, who is Piss Freelon? Like, what is this? I mean, I ain't gonna lie. Off the GP, look... I didn't know about black space. I see light skinned brother, whatever, it's colorism, but I mean, I was like, all right, man, is he a real dude?
Who's
like,
this Shamar Moore?
Yeah, I was like, is he a real dude? Like, what's up? And then I look, and I was like, okay, is that? But then I saw something online. I was like, yo, they got the same last name. Another lady was just as dynamic in another realm, award winning and stuff like that. I was like, bro, that's his mom? I said, bro, like, how do you get two parents of that magnitude that were, your dad is behind the scenes, but in every building, I'm at A&T, I see him, this I see him. And then your mom is in a stratosphere on her own. Like, yeah, talk to your relationship about your mom and who your mother is. I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, you know, so I guess it skips the generation and the gender kind of moving around. But, you know, my mom is the artist in our family. She comes from a long line of creatives. You know, I became the artist in our nuclear family with my mom and dad, whereas my sister and brother really took after my father in the visual arts. Yeah. You know, my brother actually played bass, but very introverted and was also great at sketching. And, you know, my sister is a painter and a multimedia visual artist. And then with our kids, you know, similarly split between my siblings. But yeah, Stella, me, my mom, we're all performers. We all have a background in theater and singing and writing and creating and improvising. That's just who we are. And, you know, my mom was a great role model. I got to see her perform, got to see her behind the scenes rehearsing. I got to see the business aspect of music, touring, you know, dealing with management and going to award shows. I remember going to the Grammys in like 98, you know, with my mom when she was nominated for the 5th or 6th time, you know, and a lot of it, what you see on TV is just very glitzy, but, you know, behind the scenes, it's just regular people, just regular people. I was like, Mom, there's Usher. She's like, oh, that looks like a nice young man. You know, she goes up and chats with them. They're colleagues. They're musicians. Yeah. You know, I was like, oh my God, you're chatting with Usher. You know, so it was a little, you know, after seeing how nonchalant she was, it was demystifying to me. What is a celebrity? A celebrity is just a teenager who is good at singing and was there with his mom. Yeah. You know, just like I was there with my mom. Yeah. So like, it's just interesting, to see all that stuff from behind the scenes. And, on the creative side, you know, she's taught me so much. Watching her perform, my mom she can capture a room. And, you know, it was so funny, when I was running for mayor, I remember thinking, like, these people don't got no public speaking skills. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, they've got no charisma. They can't rock the mic. They've got their little thing of policies, but they've never captured the spirit of a room before. which is something that I had to do all the time as a musician, and something that I saw my mom do effortlessly in her practice. And the best, most moving people can do both.
Yeah.
You know, they've got the policy chops and they understand how things work, and they can communicate that in a way that is rare. You can't go back and look at King and tell me he's not spitting.
Yeah.
It's bars. It's bars. The way he sets up, he got punchlines and everything.
His cadence. His pauses.
Woo.
The imagery. That's not by happenstance.
That's not happenstance. And it comes, like, to me, that preacher tradition and the MC tradition are very aligned.
They're in the same, and the pimps, and then it's all the drug dealers.
Right.
It's all salesmen, rather.
Yeah. Well, you know, sometimes it can be at its most basic, you know, the gift of gab can be used for sales, you know, and if you're trying to sell somebody on an idea like end segregation, you know, maybe you could call King a salesman in that regard. But really, I think it's about connecting with people. And in order to do that, you have to have a certain level of empathy and a certain skill over oration as a practice, as a gift. It's something you could definitely hone and build and develop over time if you know, go to Toastmasters and study you know, always make eye contact and make sure. But for some people, it just comes naturally. Yeah. And, you know, it's a dangerous skill for the reasons that you've stated.
Yeah, because you can evoke, you can play, you can do,
right.
Especially in Dad album, like as a father, as a, what do you want your legacy to be? Like, what do you want your legacy to be?
I want my legacy to be, you know, a child of Durham who bloomed where he was planted, who lifted as he climbed, who fought for Black liberation. There's a nice little full circle on some of the things we've been talking about today. I think it's important that I'm a product of this community that I'm, you know, fighting to give back to. Because when you have roots in a place, deep roots in a place, and that place is responsible for you stepping into your best self, then the question for me, at least, is how can you take some of that privilege and enable the ascent of the others around you? And I think that's something that was really important to my dad in the field of architecture. It was important to other mentors I've had, like Baba Chuck Davis, who was a world famous dance instructor. And I couldn't tell you how many careers his investment and love and care has helped launch and flourish. That's just it's a sacred privilege to be nurtured and then to pay that forward.
And then when you think I was just thinking while you were talking, and what do you think, if you had an opportunity that 18-year-old Pierce just walked in, sat right here, and you had a chance to talk with him, what would you tell him?
18-year-old Pierce, I would say, that's a good question. What would I tell my 18-year-old self?
She was right in half, right? You're 36, right?
I would say, you be good. You'll be good. just stay the course, and don't let your expectations of what you think should happen prevent you from moving forward. I didn't do that, luckily, but I guess I would remind myself of that. Because, when you go for something really hard and fail, that can be discouraging. But there's actually nothing to be discouraged about, because the very act of your trying is a success, regardless of the outcome.
No. And then last two before we go to our rapid fire round. Why jump into politics? You're already having a local impact, but Black space. You're already teaching. You're traveling. You're making your impact and presence felt already in the culture. Why did you choose to go into politics?
Well, in 2017, we had a very unique circumstance. Our beloved OG mayor, Mayor Bell, who had been mayor since I was in high school, was retiring. Yeah. After 3.5 decades in public service.
Which is kind of wild in a sense.
It's incredibly unprecedented here, the career that he's had. And so he was retiring. And that was also the year like Barack Obama was retiring. You know what I mean? So from November of 2016 when Trump was elected to, the January of 2017, which is around the time when Mayor Bell announced his retirement, there was a lot of feeling of uncertainty. It was like, yo, we're stuck with Trump. Like, where are our young Black leaders to take the baton from Obama and to keep sprinting? And I didn't see us anywhere. And I said, okay, well, whatever, federal politics. Let's look locally. What do we have locally? Who's going to fill Mayor Bell's shoes? Forget Washington. That's just, I'm just going to need to pray for the best. But let's look locally. And what I saw locally was Mayor Bell, who was retiring, Mayor Pro Tem, Cora Cole McFadden, Eddie Davis, great, wonderful folks of my grandparents' generation. They were around King's age. Yeah. Literally. Still in power, still doing the damn thing. In their 80s. Killing it. Yeah. But what's next? What happened
down or holding it up?
I don't know. I would argue that they're holding it down because Bill Bell is no slouch. He's as sharp as he was in 1972. Mickey Mishaw turned 92 this year. Until he retired 2 years ago, sharp as a tack. John Lewis, until he died, killing it. Still with the same energy and fervor and vigor as when he was my age. So Cora Cole McFadden, bruh, she got more energy than some teenagers I see out in these streets. We come from resilience and excellence. So I cherish the legacy that they've left, but also understand that it's our obligation to take the baton and to continue. So I don't think they were holding it up. They did a great job, but now we got to do a great job so that we don't disappoint them and the ones who are coming after us. Man, when I was running for mayor, I did the math. The median age in our city council was like 65. Median age. I was 33 at the time. The median age of the city of Durham was about 33 at the time. But there was nobody near my age bracket, within reach of no millennials at all, county commissioners, city government, like state, house, Senate, nowhere, completely absent from the political process. And I said, my first thing was like, hey, well, this is a damn shame.
Yeah.
Like, where we at? I knew where we were. Like me, we're traveling the world. I'm a professor. I got an Emmy with a YouTube series. Like, I'm doing it. I'm doing the damn thing like we supposed to be. But that excellence and that talent in tech, or that excellence and that talent in the nonprofit sector, or in, it's not in politics. We were everywhere but politics.
Yes.
We're making video games and publishing stuff and starting production companies and doing podcasts. We're not sitting at board meetings trying to figure out what's up with the zoning in East Durham. We're not in those spaces, and we need to be, because we got the fresh ideas. We got the momentum. We got the connection with the youth. You know what I mean? We got the next 70 years ahead of us. As opposed to some of these folks, they're 80s, 90s. They're making decisions now that they won't see the implications of. And I'm not saying we don't need it's wonderful to have that elder perspective, because they can put the decisions we're making in their proper context. But we need at least one seat at that table to be somebody who's going to be there to experience.
You got a little bit more skin in the game.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And then that's where you have power. It's not in young people coming in and taking over. It's actually an intergenerational leadership. Because now you can tell me how in 1983 there was a chemical spill in East Durham because they were down zoning black neighborhoods so they could put industrial plants in there, and this is how it impacted the Durham community. So when these people are trying to come in and do this thing in North Durham, we're not going to have it because we've seen this movie before. You're like, oh wow, I was born in 1983. I don't remember that.
Yeah.
That's why I need you, OG. And I'm going to show you how to use a Twitter account so you can, communicate better. And there's this new great book, Emergent Strategy, that's probably not on your radar. It's written by a radical black feminist named, Adrienne Marie Brown. Like, let me put you on. You put me on. Let me put you on. That's intergenerational leadership, which is what we need. And we didn't have that. So, and I saw, just like the cipher, I said, oh, that's kind of whack. Let's do it. Let's fill that void instead of just being upset that a chasm exists. Let's be the change, for lack of a better cliche. So I did it, but I'm still doing it.
Yeah. And the last question, man, I would have to ask, especially as being a dad, not in order to be a dad, that's not the right thing. But yeah, how is the importance of, your wife played in all this?
Oh, bruh. Thank you for bringing up my wife. I've been married for 13 years. Woo.
You got married at 23.
Yeah.
Yeah,
23. I had either just turned 24 or was about to turn 24. Yeah, between 23 and 24. So, I mentioned, you asked what was my lift as I climb story.
Yeah.
It was my talk with the brothers and Nolan Smith and Derek last Friday. And my final comment was, find you a partner that's going to hold you accountable, that's going to love you unconditionally, that's going to have your back, that's going to keep it a buck with you, that's going to be your shoulder to cry on and your to kiss you when you fall and hold you up and prop you up when you're tired. There is no decision in my life that has contributed to my success more than my wife. Hands down. She's brilliant, patient, creative, determined, passionate, nurturing, thoughtful, compassionate. And to have that to come home to and to bounce ideas off of and to help strategize with, absolutely paramount to everything that I've achieved and will achieve. And just going at it alone, boy, it's tough.
Tough, who telling?
It's tough. You know, so when you find a real one, you better lock it down. You know, because somebody else is going to see his or her worth or their worth and lock that up right quick. Just say, ooh-wee, I see all that abundance you got coming for me. And it's a long game. Like, we didn't know in 2008, you know, where we'd be now. It's an investment. Mm-hmm. And through marriage, you challenge one another and, you know, you're bringing two worlds together. I was talking with my wife about this earlier today after I got the city council appointment. I said, I feel our grandparents present, my parents' parents, mm-hmm. and her parents' parents. Mm-hmm. Katie's father was the president of A&T in the 60s.
Wow.
He was a preacher, the pastor at Abyssinian Baptist Church in New York. And the building that my dad designed on that campus, the education building, it's called the Proctor Education Building. Yep. Proctor is my wife's maiden name because that was her father, the president of A&T.
Wow.
And we found a photo, a really beautiful photo of our grandparents together because my grandmother was my maternal grandmother. My mom's mom was a community organizer and activist in Cambridge. And Katie's grandfather was a famous preacher, you know, so he came to their church to preach and they took a picture together, went in the paper. You know, had no idea this was two generations removed. So like, I know that Dr. Proctor is looking out for me and is helping order my steps. Along with my dad, along with my grandmother, along with my wife's grandmother. Like, I got the Avengers of ancestors. Those are just my biological grandparents. I didn't go into the Baba Chucks, you know, and I got ancestors on ancestors. I am so protected. And because I'm protected, I have the bandwidth to be protector, you know, for the people and communities that I care about. And when I'm an ancestor one day, it's for all of y'all Durhamites out there. I don't know who's going to be watching this one day. Maybe my kids. When I'm gone, I got your back. You know, if you need a guardian angel, I'm going to be looking out for the little boys and girls of Durham and the grown boys and girls and folks of Durham as well, looking out. Cause I think that's what your job becomes as an ancestor among who knows whatever else is going on in the other realm. But I feel my dad's presence all the time. And, I'm well represented and well protected in the other realm, and I'm grateful for that.
And if you had 30 seconds, like, imagine if there was a megaphone, right? And you speak into the megaphone and it goes to everybody in the world, including people that can't understand what you're talking about, but they got whatever, it's transferred. What would you tell the world at this moment, at this time?
So you're describing that scene from X-Men Apocalypse when Apocalypse amplifies Professor X's mental abilities without Cerebro.
Yeah.
And he communicates with the whole world. Even though they speak different languages, they still understand it. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Just making sure we're on the same page about that.
Yeah.
So if I was Professor X and I had my powers amplified by Apocalypse, and I had something to say in 30 seconds, I would say, I want to quote like a lyric. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah,
the first thought was, could you be loved and be loved? Could you be loved?
That's such a vibey, man.
And be loved. That's it. I would play them some Bob Marley, and they would have the dopest 30 seconds ever. And then that's it.
Step back into the matrix.
Step back into the matrix.
You step out.
Drop the mental mic and let them go on with their lives. I don't know why that song came to me, but I was like, that's got to be a song. I'm like, I want to make a profound statement. No, forget it. I'm just going to give you what was given to me.
That's probably the issue.
Bob Marley.
The culture now, everybody wants to make profound statements, but profound statements have already been made. So why don't just let it ride? We don't all have to be, you say something deep, I gotta say something deeper. Right. Like, bro, everybody gotta be deep, bro. Like, deep. It's just,
we deep in here, bro.
Yeah. So we always close it out with, I ask 5 rapid fire questions, rapid fire answers, then we end it, man. So, if you had to add one habit and take away one habit, what would they be?
Add one habit and take away one habit. The habit I would take away is eating sugar. The habit I would add is drinking water.
If you, what's your biggest fear?
My biggest fear is, my biggest fear. Do I have a fear? I know this is supposed to be rapid fire.
Nah, it always comes off rapid fire.
Oh, this is a legit fear. Needles.
Needles? You got tattoos.
I know. That's why this was a really big deal for me. This is my dad's first logo from his first business. But I actually, it's a particular kind of phobia. They class it alongside a phobia of blood and a phobia. I'm not scared of blood, but the idea of being, no pun intended, pierced by a needle is just, it makes me nauseous, and it's a legit fear of mine.
What's the meaning of your name?
Pierce is my mother's maiden name, and it means to go through.
Straight like that. Like that's what it is. Yeah. Go through. Ain't that? Okay, I get it. If you were the president of the United States, what's the first thing you would do?
If I was the president of the United States, it's the first thing I would do. I would end all participation in war. Yeah. Pull our troops back and get them to do something like teach jump rope and engineering and science in the public school system.
And then the last question before we close, and I do my closing, is how would you change the educational system?
The first thing, most important thing I would do, if this is a rapid fire response, the most important thing I would do is untether the relationship between school funding and income. Like right now, schools are funded from tax revenue by the houses in proximity to the school. And I think that's classist and racist. And what it means is people in poor schools get less money per pupil. And I think that the wealthy communities should be paying for, we should all be paying for all schools to be the same level, not for some schools to get more because they live in wealthy neighborhoods.
Say no more. And there's so much more into that, because I think, and hopefully over the next couple of years, I think I really want to do a deep dive in it in layman's terms, even though there's people doing it, but I think it's important on my platform in layman's terms, breaking down what that is. I think the majority of society is just not, they're kind of unfamiliar with that. And hopefully the city council and the city of Durham does a better job. I think they do a straight job, but a better job of visibly breaking it down to simple terms. But then hopefully you can bring that and get creatives to outsource the messaging.
Yeah, the messaging is trash.
The graphics are trash. The video is trash. You got all these creators, but why? The information people need to know is a link under a link under a link. Where are the meeting notes for this thing?
Yeah,
the meeting notes are, and the PDF is trash. I'm like, why would you get?
Looks terrible. And
all these resources, you can't, all these kids that creating dope visuals, they music videos, they banging. You can't get nobody to create something?
Yeah. No, it's trash. It's pretty trash. And, it's part of what makes, local government inefficient.
Hold up, we got one more.
Oh, you got more? Oh,
it just, where can people, first of all, thank you for giving me well over an hour of your time, to the show, man, and during a huge day. That's a man word. You could easily like, yo, G, I'm be real, bro. I just got to see I got a lot going on, man. Let's push it. Hey, and we was late. That's what it is. And I love it, man. We roll with the punches. So where can people find more about your organizations?
Sure.
How they can support, how they can listen, support the album, support things. Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, my website's going to need to be revised now because it's more than the album. I got to tell people about, this new responsibility as a city councilor, but I think, you can find me anywhere just with my name. So Pierce Freelon will take you to my website. At Pierce Freelon is my Instagram, Facebook / Pierce Freelon is my Facebook, it's my Twitter. And whatever I'm doing, you'll be able to hear more about in those places. So Google me, use the internet and, follow the breadcrumbs. But I think one of the main hubs will be my primary social media is probably Instagram. I use it more than the others. But I'm on TikTok. I'm everywhere. Yeah. So you can find me just no funny spellings, no underscores or dashes. It's just Pierce Freelon.
So Minority Trailblazer Nation, man, as always, I need to do two things. And two things only. Number one, leave a 5-star review. If it's not 5-star, email it to me so I won't read it and I'll delete it. I'm playing. But don't leave it outside of 5-star reviews, right? I get yeah. And then number two, make sure you changing the freaking culture. Good night. We're good.
Cool.
Good, man. Great content, man.
No problem.